like a Duracell battery, just running around, doing everything, even though I was absolutely knackered. I just felt judged, whether or not I was, but that's how it felt for me. I felt so isolated. Nobody understood it. My partner didn't understand it. I know people thought I was lazy, and I was not a lazy person. I had huge fatigue, absolutely massive. My body just felt so heavy just whenever I did anything. Driving to work, my arms, it was a 20-minute drive at that point, and my arms by the time I got there hurt, and I couldn't understand that. I had terrible brain fog. My sleep was shocking. I would sleep maybe 2 or 3 broken hours sleep a night and go to work on that. So the sense of isolation was horrible. And I withdrew because I couldn't articulate what was happening to me. I'd go to work, I'd come home, and I'd go to bed, get up the next morning, go to work, come home, go to bed. And that was my life for quite a long time. Weekends, just go to bed Friday night, get up Monday morning. Didn't care about myself. I didn't know to care about myself at that point.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another success story at CFS Health. I am so excited about this conversation with Fiona from UK. Fiona's recovery story is pretty phenomenal. It's pretty long and pretty deep in the sense of the transformation that has occurred through the suffering of chronic fatigue syndrome. And we were just talking off air a moment ago about all the gifts and all the incredible learnings and insights and things that have transpired through your entire recovery journey that dates back to, 2010, 2011, when you were diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome. So it's a real pleasure to have you here. I've been able to witness your journey, a little bit of it anyway, particularly the start of your proper recovery and now the end of it in a sense, and a new beginning for you. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah, so good. Okay, let's go. Let's rewind the clock. It's 2010. What was going on in your world back then?
I was under a lot of stress at that point, and I had been for the previous 2 years, and stress with work and stress with personal stuff. And I had an insect bite on my leg, and I knew something wasn't right with it, so I thought I need to get some treatment. So I went to the doctors, and she gave me some antibiotics, but they didn't work initially, and I ended up with cellulitis right up my leg. So I ended up going to the hospital, and they just increased my antibiotics. They were unsure whether to admit me, but they didn't, thank goodness. But the fatigue just hit me, and I was floored with fatigue from that moment on. For 4 months I was off work for, and then I did go back to work, and that was so hard. I think it was too soon, but nobody understood what was going on, and that was why it's so hard. And I felt like I was a malingerer, because nobody understood what was going on for me, including myself. So it was nobody's fault. But I was lucky that I had a very good GP, and she would see me every 2 weeks. And I didn't appreciate how good she was, but she stayed with me for the last 10 years. She was amazing.
Wow.
And the other thing that I was lucky enough to have was a chap who I used to see who did homeopathy.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me that I would recover right at the start of this. It's like, right, okay, that's amazing. And that's where my belief started, that I would recover from this illness. But it took so long. And he said that while you're at work, it's going to be very difficult to recover. It's going to impede you. But I worked for the next 10 years. I don't know how, but I did. And there were advantages to that. So that's good. He also said that the hardest thing about this illness will be other people not believing you, looking at you and saying, oh, you look well and you feel terrible. So to have somebody who understood this illness so well and to be seen with it was just incredible.
So early on too,
Yeah,
like that's
absolutely.
very rare. Usually it's 10 years later that you have that realization, and they, someone will tell you, no, it is possible to get better. And you go, what? I've been believing for 10 years because the doctor told me that I couldn't get better. So yeah, lucky you, because a lot of people don't get that treatment and don't get that, those insights and realizations that recovery is possible. So that's great. to hear that. Back then, what were some of the biggest symptoms when you were diagnosed with ME/CFS? What were the biggest symptoms that you were experiencing?
I had huge fatigue, absolutely massive, and my body just felt so heavy just whenever I did anything.
Mm.
Driving to work, my arms, it's a 20-minute drive at that point, and my arms by the time I got there hurt, and I couldn't understand that. Still didn't have any real understanding. Um, I had terrible brain fog, couldn't remember anything. My sleep was shocking. I would sleep maybe 2 or 3 broken hours sleep a night and go to work on that, and I'd been doing that for a long time prior to the diagnosis, and, I could see now where I was going downhill.
Yeah, you can see the recipe of chronic fatigue syndrome. Yeah.
Oh, yes, and I didn't give myself a break. I was that type A personality that just, was like a Duracell battery just running around doing everything even though I was absolutely knackered. Didn't care about myself. I didn't know to care about myself at that point.
Mm. Mm. 2010, 2011, no Facebook, I don't think at that point, or it might have just started,
Mm.
very, very little support in the real world, but really a real lack of support on the internet. And I can imagine back then it would have been super isolating, although you had the homeopathy guy and the doctor. I'm assuming that like your workplace would have back then it was kind of yuppie flu. Like there's a lot more awareness now, particularly because of long COVID and things like that. But what was it like back then? Like going to the workplace, seeing friends. What was that experience like?
It was Yeah, it was so hard. I just felt judged whether or not I was, but that's how it felt for me. I felt so isolated. Nobody understood it. My partner didn't understand it. And
Mm.
I know people thought I was lazy, and I was not a lazy person. And so the sense of isolation was horrible. And I think you get, I withdrew because I couldn't articulate what was happening to me. I didn't know really what was happening. So I couldn't articulate anything. And it was just, I'd go to work, I'd come home and I'd go to bed, get up the next morning, go to work, come home, go to bed. And that was my life for quite a long time. Weekends, just go to bed Friday night, get up Monday morning. I'd be up and down in between,
Yeah, yeah,
not
but
doing anything.
not doing it and not living. Yeah,
No, I'm definitely not living.
yeah.
I was
And
existing.
how old were you when this all started?
Think I was 43, so I was in the perimenopause as well, and that, I think, had a huge impact. I think probably both impacted the other, through perimenopause, because I had a really hard perimenopause time. So, it was hard to distinguish what was what.
It's really inspiring and really gives a lot of hope to people knowing that you can get better, from both experiences. And so I'd love to dive into that now, actually. When you came across CFS Health and you found us, around what time was that?
It was 23, it was late in 23 because I watched one of your free, masterclasses, I think it
Okay.
was.
Yeah.
And I wanted to join at that point, but I didn't, and I was right not to. You know how the universe tells you what's right and what's wrong? It
Mhm.
did it for me without me realizing.
Wow.
So I watched your masterclass, and I'd seen you on Facebook in the CFS Information Hub, and everything you were saying was speaking to me. You were making sense to me. You were positive. There was just that positivity is what I needed because I am a positive person. I find negativity just drains the life force out of me. So that was the key factor that brought me to this masterclass,
Okay.
and I really liked it. But we were having a massive building work going on at the time. So at the time, I didn't actually join CFS Health. And then it got to the January, and I was crashing significantly because of all this building work, the stress, which had been going on for 9 months. I was having a huge crash. And I spoke to my dad, and he says, "Oh," I said, "I feel sick, I've got no energy." And I'd never talked a lot to him about CFS because I just didn't. And he said, "Oh, you need to go to the doctors." I said, "Well, there's no point because there's nothing they can actually do for me. I need to do this myself." And I explained to him about CFS Health, and he was brilliant. He says, "Right, join now. Get them emailed right now."
Wow.
And that's his mentality. It's like, if it's something that you can do for yourself, do it. So I did. And the building work had finished. So that meant that I could be in the house and join CFS Health and, do the work that was required for me in terms of just watching the videos and the trainings. Whereas had I joined in November, there were 3 or 4 men in and out of the house all day.
Yeah.
Literally couldn't do it.
No, that's amazing. Was there any hesitation to joining? Were you skeptical, or were you like, "Is this going to work for me?" Because a lot of people do come in with that mindset because they've probably tried a million different things and it hasn't worked and they don't want to fail again. Were you like that, or it sounds like it was a little bit different for you, almost like, "This is it. I need to do it, and it's going to work."
Yeah, it was absolutely, this is it. It was a real pull to do it.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it was a no-brainer for me. Once I started to look at your content and look at recovery stories that you'd done, I just thought, this is me. I'm going to get better. I'm definitely going to get better now.
Wow. Powerful.
Yeah.
It all makes sense to me, like listening to your story and knowing your story, like how it worked and how it happened, but the way how you approach everything matters. And so if you come in 50%, like, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? Or you've got millions of doubts going on in your mind as you're doing the work, it's going to slow down your recovery. But if we listen to every success story that says, "Yeah, well, I trusted the process and I joined and it wasn't easy, but I did it and it worked." And it's like, well, because there was, when you've got 2 feet in, you win. But if you've got 1 foot in, 1 foot out, there's doubt. Um, and so, yeah, it makes sense now that you say it out loud. It's like, yeah, cool. And obviously, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. It sounds like your dad is very, all right, well, I'm doing it. I'm going to go all in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been great.
How amazing. Okay. So you joined in 2024 early. Uh, what were some of the things that were just so important initially that just helped you the most?
It was the stop pushing and crashing.
Okay.
Um, when I learnt about that, that made total sense to find my baseline.
Yeah.
Um, it was a no-brainer. And I almost felt like I should have known that, but then we learn in the program that there's no should haves. This is where you're at. Um,
Hmm.
I think acceptance of where I was. I had to accept it to be able to move forward, and I pretty much accepted it anyway. But coming into the program and doing the trainings, I knew that that's what I needed. And the other thing that really,
Tell me about acceptance, like, because it's funny because baseline and acceptance go hand in hand. Like at the end of the day, you don't reach your baseline. You have to create your baseline on what your current reality is. And a lot of people don't understand that. And so, because once we start with where we're at, then we can build upon it. But until you truly start with where you're at, you're literally never going to get anywhere. So in reality, the acceptance piece is always going to underline the true starting point of your recovery. You obviously accepted a hell of a lot up until this point because you had a great doctor and all of that, and you knew recovery was possible, which is amazing. But what helped you? It sounds like there's a relaxation and a true peace and of acceptance of, all right, this is where I'm at and I'm going to start. Like how did you do that?
I think I felt safe to do
Mm.
that.
Mhm.
Once I realised, and I absolutely believed I was going to get better, I felt safe. And you're right, my body did relax. And I knew some of the steps that I needed to take, and I knew that they would work, in terms of I needed to get out of fight and flight. I knew that because I've been in fight and flight for years. And so to be able to do that, I had to let go and let things be and just be and let my body be. And there was so much, Toby, but they were the things I just had to let go. let this be who I am.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. Step 1 is baseline, accept current reality and just be, which is exactly what we teach as step 1 in the program anyway. It's the first part of the roadmap of your plan. After that, what kind of came to you? Was it the cognitive work or the physical capacity work? What was it,
It
something
was
else?
cognitive. Yeah, no, well, I did do my daily routine. I set that up and I reviewed that last week and I was like, oh my God, that was far too much. I did it. I wrote it down, but I didn't follow it. I actually tuned quite early in, tuned into my body
Okay,
to
cool. Yeah.
to think, right, can I do this? And that was something I'd never even thought of prior to CFS Health, that I needed to associate with my body. I
Amazing.
didn't know it was there. I didn't know how it felt.
Yes, 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 yes. So, what we're talking really about here is body wisdom, right?
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day at CFS Help, what we teach is body wisdom, how to know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. So how to tune into your body and know what it needs at any given moment, and then basically be able to, from there, once you get body wisdom, you can progress, you can get healthy, you can start living again. But until you get it, it's so empty. It's like a surface level. You're trying to you're outcome focused versus process focused, and process focus will allow you to tune in and then do the appropriate things for your brain and your body. Um, did you use the daily tracker like this?
I did.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Oh, I love that because there's where you get your 5 gratitudes morning and night.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I did that every day for about 8 months. And within about 4 months, I could feel
Mm-hmm.
that's the one. Yep. And I could feel a change in my body when I did my gratitudes. I could feel a difference because I'd learnt to feel my body. And so I realized the importance of the gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
And I still do gratitude every day now because um, it has just changed my outlook.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really good. The other thing that I went to pretty much straight away was the mindset modules with Gemma
Okay.
Hamhead.
Cool. Yeah. The emotional well-being stuff is so vital. Tell us about that. Like, what opened your eyes when you were going through those trainings?
I think I felt like Gemma was speaking to me. Everything she was saying was like, "Oh yes, that's me, that's me." I think one of the first things that got to grips with was the secondary gains.
Ooh, that's
Um,
deep. That's deep.
it was deep. Yeah, I think there was the inner child first, but the secondary gains came as part of the inner child for me. And I I was ashamed of my secondary gains at first. I'm not now.
Yeah.
I was the first secondary gain I found was that I was in victim mode, and I've always been such a positive person. I thought, no, I'm not a victim. I'm a victor. And I looked at that and I went, no, I'm a victim because I can blame other people for where I'm at the minute. And it's their fault I'm in this situation. And so looking at the taking responsibility with Gemma's module, it was about, well, actually, I put myself here because I
Mhm.
didn't look after myself. And there were really good reasons why I didn't look after myself.
Mm.
So that's okay. But if I put myself here, I know that I can get myself out of this. And I went deeper and deeper with Gemma's modules. I found limiting beliefs that I'd had all my life. I'm a bad person, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough. I did the inner child and I found some core needs, the core needs, 6 core needs. I'd never heard of that before.
Wow.
And I started to realize which of mine had not been met. And so that was an amazing introduction
Yeah.
to work that I needed to
Pretty
really
big.
undertake.
It's pretty big work. Uh,
Oh, huge.
for the people who aren't in our program who don't know what we're talking about, firstly, recovery requires a holistic approach. And, from the physical standpoint, which is what you did straight away, Fiona, with your baseline, and you worked on the physical capacity stuff and getting into the body wisdom. But then you're a multifaceted human being. And so working on your mindset, which affects how you feel physiologically, matters too. And so we have every single component you can imagine in the program. It's the most comprehensive online program there is. We cover every aspect of recovery because that's what's required, we believe, to have a holistic long-term recovery and to ultimately get back to good health and to live again. Secondary gains, just if you're not aware, and Fiona, you might have your own take to it as well, which I'd love to hear. It is basically, in life we have primary pain, which is the main problem that we're facing in our lives in any moment, right? So, as an example, chronic fatigue syndrome could be the primary pain. And then underneath that, or beside that, can be secondary gains from the primary pain. And so sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes with chronic fatigue syndrome, there can be secondary gains that are attached to that, like, when you are unwell, maybe the people around you show more love and attention to you. Or maybe when you're unwell, you don't have to take full responsibility of life because maybe before you got ill, it was really hard and you didn't want to take responsibility anymore. And you're not, you're not making chronic fatigue syndrome up. What you're going through is real. It's just that sometimes we can then attach these secondary gains that keep us stuck in the sticky situation that we actually don't want to be in, but we just don't know how to get out of it. And so it's interesting that you went straight to that because it's not for everybody, and you certainly don't, not everybody goes through that and has secondary gains. But I truly believe that if you get sick and you've been unwell for a long time, secondary gains just build up without you even realizing it, right? Because it actually protects you. So, and that's the key piece, is the protection piece of like, well, then you're not a bad person for having secondary gains. You're not making it up. You're not trying to not get better. It's just that they can get in the way of getting out of that comfort zone. So victim mode was your first one, did you say?
Yeah, for sure. I think that was the biggest one, and I think, it was just being able to blame others. That was my biggest secondary gain that I had.
Wow.
Yeah, it was huge.
And what was the benefit for that? Like just as a secondary gain for you?
I didn't have to take responsibility, and I
Mhm.
didn't know that at that point, but that's what I worked out. It's like, "Oh, I don't have to be responsible for where I'm at. It's not my fault I'm here." But actually, it's not about blame, but some of my actions had definitely led to me becoming fatigued and ill.
Mm.
So taking responsibility and learning about taking responsibility was huge for me, and, I needed to do that, and I do that now. I've learnt so much, so, that was that was the biggest one with the secondary gains, but I did a lot of work with the inner child, which opened my eyes to my core needs not being met, which led to understanding my limiting beliefs, which led to, well, actually, as I said, it was a good insight into what I realized I needed. And I then accessed some coaching externally. So
Mm.
I realized that I need to go really deep with this.
Tell me
And
about, yeah, this is great. That is brilliant. Tell me about the inner child work to unblock these limiting beliefs.
yeah, I once I got in touch with my inner child, because I'd never done that sort of work before. Um,
Can you explain what that is for what it was for you, that for context?
Yeah, for sure. So, in the mindset modules, Gemma took us through a module where we get in touch with our little girl from, 5 years old or wherever. So my little girl, little Fiona, and to be able to, it's about reparenting her to find out what made her tick, what was upsetting her, and listening. When I felt really unhappy inside, the way Gemma explained it was that it's my little inner child's asking for help, screaming at something
There's a
wrong.
Yeah, exactly. There's a part of you that's asking for attention, and then the attention, there's a message in that attention of like, what is it? Do you feel neglected? Is there a part of you that feels hurt? Your boundaries are being crossed. The worthiness,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Mm.
The big thing was the boundaries being crossed for me. I didn't even know. I didn't know what boundary was. But so I went through the inner child, and I always knew that my limiting beliefs, I hadn't termed it that, but I always knew that I thought I was bad, that I didn't think I was good enough. So I always knew that bit. I didn't know it was a limiting belief.
You thought it was true. You just was like, yeah, this is me. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah, and I didn't feel like I deserved anything. Honestly, I went through my whole life like that. So when I found my inner child, well, yeah.
And it's crazy, like the new lease of life that you have now, you know?
Oh, absolutely. I just want to tell you about one of the Win of the Month calls I went on, and I was just with one person on that call, and the insight I shared with her was that I matter.
Yeah,
And I was
I
so
remember that.
happy.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I was so happy and excited, and she was emotional, and I thought, at first I didn't understand it, and she was so, so lovely with me, and the revelation was amazing.
Mm,
So, so I felt, started to realize that I do matter, but the big thing was the boundaries. I didn't know boundaries existed. I didn't know what they were. And I remember saying to my partner in the past, for years, I've said, when someone does something to me, I don't understand if it's okay or not. I don't know what that line is. And that line is the boundary that I've learned. And so I started to work with my boundaries, and I started to realize I matter. And oh my gosh, that was just life changing for me.
You know what? It is life changing because you know what happens when you start to realize you matter. You start to make changes that help you feel good. Like physiologically, like if you have the belief system that you matter, you're going to do things in your power to show yourself that you do matter, like sticking up for yourself, setting and honoring boundaries that value you and your time and your energy, and saying no to things that don't matter. You're right. Like saying no to people who think that you don't matter. Like there's so many, like the flow and effect of that truth for you, like that core belief is just freaking huge, like monumental. Um,
Totally.
I'm so glad we're picking this apart because yeah, there's so many like nuances to recovery. And, obviously one of them is the mindset work and it's like take responsibility for self, not beat self up anymore, go through the secondary gains with compassion and let them go one by one. And then the limiting beliefs and then the I matter. And I'm sure there was heaps of others that came out underneath that one, but that one was the one that filtered, had the flow on effect for you to transpire into the human you are today.
Absolutely. And the self compassion that has come from that is huge. I really take good care of myself from that. And I know that I deserve it. And I'm the person to give it to myself. Whereas I think I always looked externally for that prior to.
Mm.
Yeah, it's just huge, Toby. Life changing. And I don't know what to say on that, but you can see the smile on my face. It's fantastic to and I think the other thing is, once you realise you matter and you've got your boundaries in place, you treat yourself better, and then other people start to treat you differently, better, because you're projecting something different, I guess.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Your standards rise. Tony Robbins says you get what you tolerate.
Right. Yes. Yes. And I stopped tolerating, believe me.
We're going to get to that in a moment because it's quite a conversation. Is there anything else from when you joined CFS Health, we got your baseline, we got the body wisdom right, we got acceptance, and then you started doing the emotional work. Was there like a third thing that helped separately to those two other things? Did you work on movement mastery and physical capacity, or did that just come naturally over time with daily function and building up?
The movement mastery came naturally, because I was walking, when I joined when I was at the bottom of stage 2 in this crash. So I had started quite a lot of movement and I was doing really well.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Dr. Olivia there's a couple of things she talked about that stuck with me in the circadian rhythm.
Getting your sleep right.
Yeah, and spending 10 minutes outside every day because I have reactor glasses on, so I had to take those off, and we have a stable door at the front of the house, and that's where the sun is. And so 10 minutes on a morning, I would stand there leaning, having the door hold me up, and just get the daylight into my eyes.
Mm, mhm.
Um, and the nutrition. I'd
Awesome.
already started. Nutrition was something that I had started to prior to CFS and worked really deeply in. But then, from what your trainings were, it mirrored and matched what I'd learned. And um, absolutely, it was a non-negotiable that I eat really healthy food. But I do have chocolate as well. I don't just
Hey, me
do
too. We love, I mean, particularly dark chocolate. I'm all about it every day. The team know this even in the headquarters. We have dark chocolate here. Our headquarters is across the road from a famous chocolate factory here in Noosa, Australia. It's called the Noosa Chocolate Factory. And oh man, it's the best. But nutrition, well, food is fuel, right? And so many people don't get that. But the one thing that I'm picking up from you that you just said is the non-negotiable. It's non-negotiable for me. There's a conviction and a commitment that came from you to do all of this stuff, Fiona. I don't know if you're picking that up, but that's what I'm hearing through your voice.
Yeah, absolutely. The other non-negotiable was bedtime routine,
Mhm.
sleep, and yoga nidra. When I found out about that,
Calming your nervous system.
yeah,
Mm.
I did. Initially I did 45 to 90 minutes a day in
Um,
sections,
yes.
just
Okay.
because I knew it was the implementation. I knew I didn't always like it, and sometimes I was like, I don't want to do this,
Yeah.
but I knew it would get me better, so I stuck with it. And I remember Gemma saying on one of the Q&A calls, do it even if to somebody else, she was saying, do it even if you don't feel like you're benefiting, you will. So that stuck with me and I kept doing it. That was an absolute non-negotiable.
Awesome. So you basically created your perfect and imperfect daily routine, which is one of our main trainings inside the training hub. And then you infused all the things we recommend in terms of energy in stuff, so restorative stuff. But what you did is you broke it up through the day to make it work for you, which is what we encourage you to do anyway. But the key is sticking to it, right? And so that's the thing. There's like this commitment. What helped you stay so committed? Was it the little coaching tips along the way, like the Gemma Hanley sayings through the coaching calls or posts from other members? Or was there something internal that was driving you to stay committed?
I think it was a mixture of everything, to be honest. I don't think it was one single thing. The Facebook group was fantastic because I would see other posts on there. I didn't post a lot on there myself, but
Mhm.
I didn't feel the need to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got so much from everybody else. It was
Exactly.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And definitely internally, I was just, I'm going to get better.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
commitment.
definitely. And there were things, that I would hear, and consistency over intensity. And that's what I used to think with Yoga Nidra. It's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do it. And I would find when I needed it most was when I was likely to resist it the most.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
I always say, do it even if you resist it, and then on the other side of the resistance, you'll benefit from it.
Yeah.
Um, Very profound. Makes sense. Everything makes sense to me with what you're saying. Like, when after implementing this work, when did you start to notice the physiological changes in the decreasing of your symptoms? And, how soon after implementing these things did you notice little nuances of change?
It was definitely in September, so that would have been about the 9-month mark.
Wow. Okay. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
I went on holiday with my dad and brother and partner at the time, and we were up in Northumberland, and I walked up to not big hills, but hills with them to get to it's a place called Sycamore Gap, which is well known in the UK, beautiful.
Mhm.
And I did it, and I felt really good about doing it, and I just thought, oh, well, this is really it. And then, interestingly, I had a crash after that, and I call it a crash. I felt horrible about 2 weeks later, and I thought, "Oh, maybe I haven't." But I accepted this crash. I did everything that, go back to basics, and I recovered from that crash in days, which
Mm.
was phenomenal. I'd never done that before, and from feeling so horrible to thinking, "Oh, now I'm alright." But what it was recently, I think it was probably January, February, and I started to realize I haven't had fatigue for ages, and I hadn't noticed that change. oh, I'm not fatigued. And I don't get fatigued anymore. And, I can have bad days and I don't get fatigued.
Yeah. Yeah. This is great. 9 months is usually, 6 to 9 months is typically when we see real, true, tangible change in the body. So just if you're at home right now and you're thinking, why am I getting better? I'm doing all this work, it's not working. Well, you will see small changes. And Fiona, I'm sure you would have seen those small changes in the first few months as well, like those little nuanced changes of like maybe you have a little bit more stamina, or maybe your brain fog's not as bad at a certain time in the day, or maybe there's even glimmers of like more joy and excitement that you're feeling in your body and your brain. Those things can happen relatively quick, a couple of months, even less than that. But the true tangible change usually doesn't happen at around until the 6 to 12 month mark doing the work, because it takes that long for the body to actually physiologically adapt and get to that level of output and a different level of strength and stamina. So, I think I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I think a lot of people do feel disheartened when they're like, they do something for 2 months and they're like, oh, it's not working, and they get so disheartened. It's like, it's because yes, it's good that you're being consistent, but like it takes a minimum 8 weeks even for a healthy person's body to physiologically adapt from stimulus, to actually see tangible change. So, of course, it's going to take a little bit longer for someone who's going through recovery. Let's talk about something that's really important to you, and it's kind of fresh as well. You mentioned that the I matter thing was one of the biggest limiting beliefs that you overcame, and the 6 core needs of, what matters to you now. And going through recovery, I always say it's like a spiritual journey, not just a physical one. And in spirituality, you can say personal development. If you're not into the spiritual stuff, that's fine. You went through one.
Mm.
Tell us tell us what transpired.
Well, the changes from what I've been through in terms of who I am now is just, I'm a totally different person. I'm much calmer than ever I have been. And at the minute I have quite a lot of stress going on personally, but I can actually reach places of what we call rest and digest within those very stressful periods. And prior to this, I would have been creating drama over this, and I would have been blaming other people. And now I take full responsibility for where I'm at in my life,
Mm,
where I want to go. Um, I I increase, I look after myself. I can tell when I really need to up the self care,
mm.
and I take that time out to do that. Whereas in the past, I would have ignored those signals and
Yeah.
just thought, I'll just crack on.
I
So,
love this. I said to a client the other day, she's kind of coming out the other end of recovery, which is great. And she's like, I'm just like, I want to be more life focused. Like, how do I switch? And I said, all you need to do is replace the word, recovery care with self care. So up until now, 12 months, 15 months, you've been doing recovery care work, right? You've been working on your recovery. You don't need to do that anymore because you're actually getting better, which is great. Go out into the real world, which you already are. You're already working again. And just reframe the word recovery care with self care and realize that health is a forever thing, right? Recovery doesn't have to be, but health is a forever thing. And there's a difference.
yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, and I think, that's what I found, and that's what I found in my values. I started to do the values work, and my health was my top value. You can have all the money in the world, but if you haven't got your health,
mm,
to me anyway, I didn't have anything. So, and the other thing that I just want to say is when I was lying down and couldn't get out and couldn't do anything, I used to think it was a waste of my time and I was wasting my life and it was all ebbing away. And I see the beautiful blue skies sometimes in the UK. And I used to think, I'm wasting my time. But that was something that I have thought throughout this last 12 months was, I'm not wasting my time. I'm growing and this is okay to take this time because once I do this inner work, that when I get my physical strength back, I'm going out to play. And that's what I'm doing. So it's great. I've been out. I've had a weekend away. I went out with my friends last weekend in nature walking, and
Oh, wow.
so yeah, that was a huge thing for me.
What's it feel like now? Like just to not have fatigue and just to have normal tiredness because you've got some life stress, which is pretty big, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But what's it feel like just to play?
It's exciting. I've got, that excited anticipation at what the day is going to bring you. I have that once again. I hadn't had that for years. It's just been drudgery and dread and, it's Groundhog Day. But I look forward to going out. I'm walking practically every day and seeing different things, and it's just exciting to get back into life and be with people. And the one thing that I've loved is I've joined 2 art clubs lately, 2 different ones. And I have to commit at the beginning of the week to go. Well, when I first went to the very first one, I was scared because I thought, "Oh, I might have to cancel because I might be fatigued." And I haven't had to cancel for fatigue at all. And I'm becoming more confident saying, "Yes, I'll come on
Yeah,
Thursday."
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You're integrating into life.
Yeah. So, and that's just brilliant because I'm forgetting that I might not be able to do it rather than thinking, "Oh, I might not be able to do that." I could just like, "Yep, I'll sign me up, I'll do that." And that's amazing.
So good. Um, you've been going through something personal. Do you want to just share a little bit about that and kind of the not so much the personal details, but just the work has obviously changed who you are, right, as a person, and it's deepened you, it's evolved you, and through that process, some things have happened.
Yeah.
What's happened?
Sure, some massive things. Absolutely huge. I so I started off doing my values and I realised what my values were. And I started to question my long-term relationship, which is nearly 20 years. And I realised that the relationship was not right for me anymore. And I ended the relationship, and it was such a difficult thing to do. I didn't want to hurt my ex-partner because she's a beautiful person, and it was about me. And this is where I started to prioritize myself and my own needs. So I had to do it. And like you said, hard decisions, easy life.
Yeah.
I'm on that journey.
Hard decisions, easy life. Easy decisions, hard life. Tim
Hard
Ferriss.
life.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So um ended the relationship, now going through divorce. I'm now moving out. I'm buying a house. And so they are two of the so what happened was initially my energy dropped a bit because it was really hard and I didn't want to hurt my partner,
Mm.
my ex-partner. Um, and I found it difficult to sleep and eat. I did, but it was difficult. Then a few weeks later, my energy just shot up and I thought,
Crazy.
this is what it, yeah, this is what it's like this is what it's like to live aligned, true to myself with my values. So my energy shot up, which was just incredible to feel and see that happening to me.
Mm.
And now we're going through divorce and buying house and doing what, all that. And as we all know that they are two of the top 3 stresses anybody can go through. And it is very stressful, I'm not going to deny that. And
Mm.
um, what I have done to counteract that is absolutely increase my self-care as and when I've needed to, because I've learned through the program what to do for myself and to recognize when I need to stop, or if I do need to cancel something, I cancel it now, without any guilt. Just cancel it because I need to look after me. And I think it's just knowing that this is really normal. I'm not fatigued. I do have sleepless nights, but I don't go into fatigue. I go into tiredness, normal tiredness.
Appropriate.
And yeah, so, I mean, I'm fortunate I don't have to work. So I might have a movie day or call it my spa day if I've had a sleepless night. And I know that within 24 hours, I'll get that back.
Mm-hmm.
I know that this is very normal. That stuff that I'm going through, it's tough stuff,
Yeah.
but I'm doing it. I'm doing it okay.
It's really interesting how obviously there was a hard decision at the time, but what's fascinating is the energy, the freeness that came after making the hard decision that was true for you, even though by maybe society standards it wouldn't be, and that's, you shouldn't do it, it's not kosher, da 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 da. But yeah, it's fascinating when we like make that decision, how free we can feel, or how much energy gets, released because we're not living a lie of something that's no longer serving us, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
It can be
exactly.
very draining.
Yeah. And I think it has been. So yeah, I'm really looking to the future. I feel like my life is on the precipice of massive changes. I'm excited for my future. I've got I want to go out and have adventures, and that's what I'm thinking about and looking
Mm,
forward to. So when it gets tough, uh, I remember, you've said so many times, it's not forever. And that's what I keep thinking just now. This is not forever. Yeah, it's
mhm,
tough now. I have to go through this. It's
yeah.
part of the journey. It'll be fine in the end.
Totally.
And yeah, so because I'm a different person, I think I maintained a really good relationship with my ex-partner, and we're very respectful of each other, which helps us both. I think.
Yes. Lots of grace and yeah.
Yeah, and, the respect for each other is huge and really important.
Mm,
So that's very different for me from how I would have been 12, 18 months ago.
mm, yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I just want to commend you on just how you've been handling everything and, just because it's not easy as you grow and evolve. It looks really nice and fun on the outside, but on the inside, it's growth. And, as one of my friends once said to me, it's like when a baby grows, they cry. It's not fun. They're in a lot of pain, and then you got to eat and you got to sleep and then you grow again and you get more growing pains. And so I liken it to that. With growth comes challenge, but then on the other side comes, the fruits and the benefits of the growth that comes. So pretty powerful. Um,
Yeah.
as we wrap up, Fiona, I've got two questions. Um, right now, there's people in the world struggling. Some of them are maybe in the program, just finding their feet, figuring out how to navigate all of this. Other people who don't have a pathway, don't have a plan, but are just kind of figuring it out on their own. I'd love to know, like, what's a bit of advice or something that you'd like to say to those people today? And you can take a moment to think about this because it's a big question.
Yeah, I think be kind to yourself. Be kind, and try and accept where you are. I think be kind is one of the most important things,
Mm,
and I think trust, trust. This will work.
mm.
This takes time, but it will if you are consistent with what you need to do. Implement. Just make sure you implement, because just because I used to be one of these people that would watch a training and think, "Ah, I know it all. I've got it," and then forget it. And I've learned, no, you don't know it. Go back to it.
Go back to
So
it, do it,
that's 3
implement it.
things. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I love that. I think it's so true. Action is what creates results, and it sounds like you were so diligent and like so consistent with everything, which is why you got the results that you got, because you didn't give up. I always say a person who's integrated into life is just someone who was in recovery who didn't give up.
yeah,
And it's actually not that, recovery isn't that complicated. It's hard. It's
yeah,
not easy, but it's a simple process and simple steps, but sometimes are really hard to implement. And it's the implementation that's the hardest part. But if you can stay on that and fall in love with that process, like recovery happens, right? The body heals itself as you do the right things at the right time.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
without
and you're living proof. Like, you're 57. Uh, so many people are told that older people. I see you as young. I've written here 57 years young because your life is just about to begin, in a new whole exciting way. Probably more exciting than when you were a kid in a way. Like, there's this energy and playfulness that's coming out, and so you're a testament because so many people are told, like, or they just think in their head, oh, I'm too old, I can't do it, and it's just like, no, you're not. That's a myth. Whoever told you that is lying to you.
Absolutely.
It's a belief. And it's simply not true, because you're a perfect example of that. And so many more as well. Appreciate you sharing that. Last question. There's a bunch of people here watching right now who are thinking about joining the program just like you were in 2023. They didn't maybe have as much confidence as you did and your dad did, because that is kind of rare to have that, particularly, for reaching out for help, because reaching out for help can be hard. What would you like to say to people who are considering getting specific recovery help, particularly with CFS Health? Is it something you'd recommend? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well.
Without doubt, I would recommend it. I think this is your best chance to heal yourself. And I would urge anybody who's thinking about it that it is a good use of your money to spend on yourself. You deserve that, and it's the way forward. It's your path out of the illness, to get the support and feel the sense of community that you will feel, and the isolation will drop, so that you potentially feel now. So it's so possible for anybody. Just, you have to be prepared to put the effort in yourself, but it's there. It's there for the taking. So I would say to anybody, take it. Take that chance.
Mm. How long were you in the program for, Fiona?
I think it was about 14 months.
Yeah, which is around the average time with most people who fly. We say, at CFS Health, we've got a thing where, we encourage members to continue the rehabilitation process until they integrate into life and they're ready to fly. And when you're ready to fly, basically means you're ready to fly the nest. You're confident in your life, and just like Fiona has shared, in this interview today, is exactly that. You've got that confidence now, and it's that inner certainty, and it's so awesome. I don't know if you ever saw our 4 levels of recovery readiness model. Did you ever see that?
I think I did.
Triangle model? Oh, you would love it. I'm going to send you a copy of it because it's just so powerful. But one of the things that people don't realize is there's 4 levels of recovery readiness. And the first stage is the giving up stage, where you just think that there's no chance for me. It's not possible. The second stage is the hoping stage. I just hope I can get better. Hopefully it works. I don't know. Is there anything? Please God, save me. Been there, done that. That was me going through it years and years and years ago. Once we get through the hoping stage, we go to the seeking stage. And the seeking stage is when we're spending thousands of dollars on supplements. We're going from doctor to doctor. We're trying every herbal medicine thing under the sun, every weird, wacky doctor and everything in between, hoping and seeking that someone outside of ourselves will fix us. And we deplete and exhaust that to the absolute zero. And once you finally do that, or have an epiphany and a realization, you realize there's only one real true stage of recovery, which is the owning stage. And the owning stage is where you own your recovery and you own who you are as a person. And what happens when you go through those 3 stages and then come up to the owning stage, 3 things happen. Way more inner certainty. Even if you're not that well, like when you get into the owning stage and you're not that well, you're working on recovery, the inner certainty starts to come, like it did for you. I saw that in your journey over the last, 14 months of just like each month, there was this inner certainty coming out, more of the true Fiona Timms was coming out. Self-led, you become way more self-led now. You've taken it to the, you're a perfect example of leading yourself, right? Which is just beautiful. And then the third one is we call it the true you, and you're becoming really true to yourself. And I just love it. I love seeing and witnessing the recovery readiness 4 stages in real life happen. And you are one of those people that went from the bottom all the way to the top, not through luck, not through luck. The only thing about luck is labor under correct knowledge, that's what luck stands for. But through work and through showing up for yourself, and I mean, I matter. is just such a strong statement. And I'm just so glad you finally got there.
Yeah, thank you so much. And just thank you to you and the team. It has just been awesome. It's an awesome journey that I've done.
It's just beginning. I'm so excited for you.
You.
So good. Fiona, thank you so much. Appreciate you. And yeah, we'll speak to you soon. We'll stay in touch. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Toby.
Big love.
Bye.
Take care.